The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all small businesses in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but there is help to move your business forward. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is available to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses. The VISBDC is the territory's #1 resource for small businesses and is sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration. The VISBDC is nationally accredited and provides one-on-one advising, business education training, and technical assistance at no cost. Attend workshops by experts from both the public and private sectors. From idea generation to exit strategies, the staff at the VISBDC are ready to assist you. So don't wait. Call, email, or visit them on the web at www.visbdc.org and Facebook, or simply download their mobile app on the Apple or Google Play Store. Just search VISBDC. Discover how they can help your business grow and succeed.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the VISBDC's USVI Business Resiliency Series. Today's webinar will focus on strategic planning to start and stay in business. And Mr. Edwards will go ahead and share his screen so that we can begin to see the presentation. And while he does that, I'll just read a brief bio on Mr. Edwards so you guys can be previewed to his background. Mr. Darrell Edwards is the managing member, lead consultant of Straight Path Consulting, LLC, a business established in 2011 and is located in St. Thomas, USVI. The company offers a wide range of business, personal, financial, and career consulting services customized to serve customers' needs, such as analyzing business ideas, business plan preparation, promotional strategies, developing a personal financial plan, becoming financially secure, getting out of debt, college preparation, and much more. Darrell has counseled clients for over 17 years while employed as a business counselor and later as a business consultant on a contractual basis with the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center. In addition, he is also a part-time instructor at the University of the Virgin Islands, where he has taught small business management for 11 semesters, introduction to business for 6 semesters, and a freshman development seminar for 6 semesters. Darrell has also taught 9 courses for the VISBDC in business plan preparation and 5 classes in managing personal finances. His educational background favors a Bachelor of Arts degree in social work from College of the Virgin Islands, an Associate of Arts degree in accounting from UVI, Bachelor of Arts degree in business with a concentration in computer information systems from UVI, Bachelor of Arts degree in accounting from UVI, Master of Business Administration from UVI, as well as a certificate in personal financial planning from Florida State University. His employment background ranges from a vocational counselor at the VI Department of Labor for 11 years, a program administrator from the VI Department of Labor for 10 years, a business counselor and consultant with the VISBDC for a total of 9 years, as well as an instructor in small business management, introduction to business, freshman development seminar part-time at the University of the Virgin Islands since 2008. Since 2016, Darrell has been enrolled in the Creative Leadership for Innovation and Change PhD program at the University of the Virgin Islands. So just a friendly reminder to put your questions in the chat and they will be addressed by Mr. Edwards either in the chat or later during the question and answer segment. A copy of the presentation is available upon email request to info@visbdc.org. We encourage you to take a few minutes after this training to fill out the survey and let us know how we are doing. Mr. Edwards, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sharika. So I'm wishing everyone welcome. I'm glad that they were able to attend. The basis for this presentation is from a seminar, so to speak, that we had with the University of Georgia in 2009 when I was still working with the SBDC. And they came down and they presented information about strategic planning. And I thought it was very interesting. One of the things that they did is they told us to choose a couple clients, one on St. Thomas, one in St. Croix, and they would go through the strategic planning process. I thought that process was very interesting. And since that time, I've been hooked on the strategic plan and realizing its importance. So this is what we're going to share today. The basis for the strategic plan template we're going to use is from the University of Georgia SBDC. I have to give them the credit for that. Now, I did tweak it a little bit, but the basis for it is theirs. And time permitting, we hope that you can also submit your strategic plan to me by email. I have my email on the screen, mail@straightpathconsultingllc.com, and you can send me your strategic plan for review. That's time permitting, of course. So let's get into it. Sharika did a very good job of introducing myself, so I don't need to really focus on this particular slide. So quick poll question. How many of you guys have ever participated in preparing a strategic plan, whether for your business or for your place of employment or an organization that you belong to? Let's do a quick poll and find out how many of you have ever been part of this process. We'll give you a few minutes. Does it have the option to answer I have? Because I see the options. I see the poll in front of me. I'm trying to click I have, but it's not.
I'm sorry, as a co-host, you're unable to participate. So
Oh.
let's just assume it's a 50-50.
Okay.
So it's an even split in the audience.
Okay, it's an even split in the audience. Oh, so I can't even see the results either. I could share the results. Still seeing 0. Anyhow, I'm assuming everybody has voted. We can close the polls. Okay, I'm sharing the results. I'm not seeing. Okay. So for those who have participated in preparing a strategic plan, you can unmute yourself or put it in the chat as to what your experience has been. We prefer that you unmute yourself.
Okay, I have participated in strategic planning through my job.
Okay. And how was the experience? Tense, relaxing?
Well, it was pretty relaxing because they made an effort to have it be in a relaxed atmosphere. We were away from the office, so we didn't have phones ringing, so we could concentrate on the job at hand.
Okay. So I'm assuming you would say that your experience was positive.
Yes, it was very positive.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm hoping that everybody has a positive experience, especially those who have to prepare their own strategic plan. So the question is, why strategic planning? And we have on the screen several reasons. Because of the dynamic nature of business and of the world, in fact. We all know about the COVID-19 pandemic and about the war in Ukraine and all of these other things, continuous improvement, especially with technology, things change so fast. And so because of all of these reasons, we have to prepare strategic plans. It's one of the ways that you can really ensure your business is going to be successful. One of the reasons why I love the strategic plan is because it fosters action and it fosters accountability. And as I get older, and of course, my friends and family remind me, you're not getting older, you're done old. So since I'm already old, I've become more action oriented. Yes, I know we have to speak and have meetings and all of this stuff to discuss problems and potential solutions, but in my old age, I'm becoming more action oriented. Yes, nice to have all of these speeches and meetings, but what are we going to do? What are the next steps? And this is very much part of the strategic planning process. And sections of the strategic plan can be and should be included in your business plan. It depends on the template that you use. That's another reason why you want to prepare it. And even though there's many different templates, so to speak, of strategic plans, all of them basically have three sections. First, you begin with the statements, then you have the SWOT analysis, and then you have the goals and the objectives. And for each section of the plan, it answers a different question. For example, the question, who are you? Who are you? This is defined by your mission and your value statements. Where are you? Not necessarily geographically, but where are you in terms of your path to success? This is identified in your SWOT analysis. Where do you want to go? That's stated in your vision statement, and how to get there stated in your goals and objectives. So we start with the statements in no particular order. I've seen templates that have started with the vision as opposed to the mission. I've seen templates that have started with the values as opposed to the mission or the vision. So in no particular order, but we start with the mission. Some identify this statement as a purpose statement. And as we said before, it answers the question, who are you? What is your mission? What is your purpose? Okay. It's supposed to be a consistent picture of your company. Describe what your business does. It's not a slogan. It's not an ad. It's not a business plan. And of course, everything that you say in a statement has to be justified. This is stating, who are you? Of course, you should include others when you're developing this statement. Some organizations, unfortunately, because of the way they're structured, they decide not to include everybody in the crafting of the strategic plan on the whole, and it's more particularly the mission statement, but you should involve as many people as possible. Can take some time to develop, and it's what you call a hard statement as opposed to the value statement, which we'll look at in a while. The value statement is what we call a soft statement. And it's soft because it's very theoretical. The value statement, as we'll see, is very theoretical. It's not really hard. And let's look at some examples of mission statements. As you can see, they could be very long. Some of them are very short. Look at the one for Pepsi. That's one of the first companies when I first started to invest. That's one of the companies I first started to invest in. Now, I was told, actually, it was during a strategic planning session. I was told that the mission of Pepsi used to be beat Coke. That was the mission, beat Coke, very simple. Obviously, it seems like over the years it has changed. And you can see the ones from Ritz-Carlton, Ben and Jerry's. You can see all of these statements. Some of them are pretty comprehensive. Speaking about the one for the Ritz-Carlton, one of my clients at the time when he came to me worked for the Ritz-Carlton, and he said that at any time during your work hours, a manager could roll up on you and ask you, what's the mission? And you're supposed to be able to recite the mission statement verbatim. And if you can't, well, there'll be some consequences if you can't. Okay, so just imagine you have to memorize this statement here, or imagine the one for Ben and Jerry's. You have to memorize this word for word. So if people can't see, you need to say what you want the audience to know. I guess so. I guess so. So the question is, other poll question, how many of you can recite the mission statement of your place of employment and/or your organization of which you are a member? Again, another poll. We'll see how good you are. If your manager had to roll up on you and say, what's the mission? Could you recite the mission statement of your organization verbatim? No pressure. One person said they can. Interesting. Interesting. So the question is now, let's hear it. For the person that said they can, let's hear the mission statement of your organization or your place of employment. No cheating, don't look on the website, no cheating. Let's hear it verbatim. Unmute yourself and let's hear it. The person that said that they know they can recite their mission statement, let's hear it. Are they in the audience? Oh, they're visually impaired and may not be able to see. Okay. So can the person, because they said they can recite it, can they recite it? Can they recite the mission statement? Because they said they can. Maybe they might not be able to unmute themselves, or they can put it in the chat. Oh no, they wouldn't be able to do that. Anyway, we'll move on. There are other organizations that do that, by the way. When Mr. I could repeat this because he said it publicly. When Mr. Louis Akil Peterson was the Commissioner of Agriculture, he used to do the same thing to his staff as well. He used to drive around, he used to roll up on them and say, hey, what's the mission? And he would expect his staff to be able to recite the mission statement verbatim. I don't know if there was any penalty if they couldn't. So the next statement, again, we're not in any particular order, but just in this particular template. The next statement is the vision statement, and it answers the question, where do you want to go? Answers that question. Where you want the business to be in 3 years. Of course, you write in the future tense. And of course, you involve as many people, not only managers, as many people as possible. This is the vision of the organization. So you have to definitely involve as many people as possible. These are some of the factors that you might want to include in your vision statement, the products and services that the entity provides, the markets that you serve, your customers, your processes, the staffing, etc. These are some things that you can include in your vision statement. And let's look at some samples. You notice that it seems like the vision statements are shorter than the mission statements. The Alzheimer's Association, a world without Alzheimer's disease, that's their vision. Teach for America, one day, all children in this nation will have an opportunity to attain an excellent education. Creative Commons, realizing the full potential of the internet, universal access to research and education, full participation in culture to drive a new era of development, growth, and productivity. It's a little bit longer than the others. Microsoft, at its founding, I guess maybe over the years, they might have changed it. They say our vision drives everything we do, a computer on every desk and in every home, using great software as an empowering tool. I remember that slogan, a computer on every desk, and I might venture to say that they probably might have achieved it because almost everybody has computers. Even your phone is technically can be used as a computer, so to speak. So they might have reached their vision as well. Australia Department of Health, better health and well-being for all Australians now and for future generations. So you have some samples of your vision statement. Now this one is attributed, I like to include this one, even though there's no verification that Arnold Schwarzenegger actually said this, it's attributed to him. He said he'll come to America, and then one day he's going to be the greatest bodybuilder. He's going to be an actor, producer, director, marry a glamorous, intelligent wife. By 32, he will have been invited to the White House. Again, I think he achieved all of those things. The value statement is the next statement. It answers the question, who are you? What are your values? Because your values define you. What are the values of the organization? It involves your operation, your relationship, your conduct, not only with within the organization, but also with your suppliers, your employees, and other stakeholders. You have some samples also of values statements. Uber, I guess they're the ones that provide the transportation. They say we do the right thing, period. That's their values. Simple. LL Bean, treat your customers like human beings. That's interesting. On Facebook, they have theirs by charm. They have theirs by checklist. They have a checklist, bulleted. Focus on impact, move fast, be bold, be open, build social value. That's Facebook. We can debate whether or not they have achieved this or not. And the next part of the strategic plan is a SWOT analysis, and this answers the question, where are you? Where are you? Not geographically, but where are you in terms of your achievement for success? Where do you stand? The SWOT stands for the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. It should be an honest assessment. This is one of the challenges I have when I'm working with clients, to have them be honest with their SWOT, because if you have a weakness, you have to include it. Is there a threat? If there's a threat, you have to include it as well. They have a tendency to focus only on the strengths and the opportunities, but you have to focus on the quote unquote negative factors as well. And so the S and the W, the strengths and the weaknesses, are internal factors, and they can be controlled by the business. The opportunities and the threats, the O and the T, are external, and they cannot be controlled by the business. We'll see examples of all of these. These are some things to consider for internal factors, like we said, the strengths and the weaknesses, technological capabilities, financial strength or access to capital, customer service, knowledge, and your skills and knowledge of the management team. How fast are employees turning over? That can be a strength or weakness. Employee skill now and in the future, marketing capabilities, knowledge of target markets, operational efficiencies, internal communication, and other systems. These are things that you want to consider when you're including your strengths and your weaknesses. And externally, of course, one of the biggest factors is competition, not only now, but future competition. I always challenge clients, because when I'm working with them, they generally say that they don't have any competition. They'd like to state that their business is so outstanding that they don't have any competition. So one of the ways that I challenge them, I said, okay, you don't have any competition, maybe directly. You might not have direct competitors, but you might have competitors that provide what we call substitute products and services. A prime example is if you have an airline, if you start an airline, you might say there's no other competitor in that particular market in terms of an airline. You might not have direct competitors, but you might have a ferry. A ferry is different from a plane, is different from a boat. A ferry is different from an airline, but they provide the same service in terms of transporting passengers from one location to a next. So they're what we call a substitute. It's not the same exact thing, but they're providing a substitute service. So you have to include those because it's an option. The best way to look at competition is to look at it as alternatives. Instead of utilizing your products and services, they can utilize an alternate product and service from a competitor. And you have to look at competition in the future as well, because if you have a service or products or services that you're selling that is easily duplicated, if it's easily duplicated, then you probably would have a lot of competition. If you're very successful, you're doing something that is easy, somebody could easily close their eyes and duplicate it, then you might have a lot of competition in the future. So that's something you have to look at, and that is a threat. Should you consider businesses on the internet as competitors? Oh, definitely. Yes, as we just said, it's an alternative. I could go into your store and purchase the product, or I can purchase it online. That's a very good point. You do have to include online competitors. Definitely have to do that. In fact, what a lot of people do, there's some businesses that sell the products online as well as in person. And sometimes, maybe they're not tracking it, but sometimes they get a better price online than they do in person, or vice versa. And so people look at it both ways, especially, during high, peak season, like the holidays or whatever. And they look online and they compare it to what you're charging in the store. And sometimes there's a different, they say, okay, we're going to purchase it online as opposed to going to the store. So that's a very good point. These are some other external factors. We know about pandemics. That's definitely included. I have that by default in every business plan that I've been preparing since 2020. You have to include a pandemic as a threat. Wars, because currently there's a war in Ukraine, and the wars, you don't have any control over it, but look what it's affecting. It's affecting the price of gas, which affects transportation, which affects the price of almost everything. Since things have to be imported into the US Virgin Islands, it affects all of that. We know about weather. I also include weather by default for any Virgin Islands based business. You have to include weather because sometimes we don't get hit directly with a hurricane, but sometimes the threat of it, everything closes down for a couple of days. Just the threat of it alone. So you have to include the weather as an external factor. Now, this is one of the differences between this template and a lot of the other strategic planning templates that I've been privy to, is that you have to prioritize the SWOT. You're not just going to list your strengths, your weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to prioritize them. We're going to look in a few minutes, we're going to look at the sample strategic plan, and you'll see exactly what I'm referring to. And this is the part where a lot of people have challenges with, as we'll see, as we continue to discuss this. You have to know the most important or the most significant of your SWOT factors, like your most important strengths, weaknesses, etc. You should try to list at least six strengths, 6 weaknesses, 6 opportunities, 6 threats. You have to differentiate between your current SWOT and your potential future SWOTs. And it can be lengthy and involve a lot of discussion. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to do what we call a new share. I'm going to look at our sample strategic plan. And this is for my fictitious business. It's called Darrell's Office Supply. You can see my statements. I started with the vision. As we said, it's no particular order. I want to be the leading office supply distributor in the Caribbean. I'm thinking the entire Caribbean, not just the US Virgin Islands. Mission, what we do right now, we sell office products that meet our customer needs in terms of quality, variety, pricing, and convenience. And our values are excellent customer service, high quality products, integrity, respect, honesty, I have respect twice. Need to change that. And community oriented. So you can see why we said the value statements are soft. These are soft statements. How do you measure? You can measure customer service and quality, but it's harder to measure. As opposed to a hard statement, it's harder to measure. But we wanted to really look at the the SWOT. So you can notice in our SWOT, it's in numerical order of priority. So that means that number one is this is our most important strength. We're located in a high customer traffic area. And of course, customer traffic is not only vehicular traffic, it also could be foot traffic. You could be in a mall and that's high customer traffic. So looking at our weaknesses, our number one weakness is limited staff. We have poor customer service, even though we said we offer excellent customer service. That's our value, but we're not meeting our value. So that should raise an eyebrow there. And the same thing with the opportunities and the threats. We have them in priority. We prioritize them. What is your number one opportunity? Opportunity to sell products online, just like one of the participants said, to be able to sell your products online. That's our number one opportunity. To expand, our second is to, excuse me, to expand to the BVI. I don't know if we want to do that right now because, BVI is kind of locked down. And the same thing with the threats. Our threats are in order of priority. So this is very important because this template, I provide this template to students, participants. A lot of people have access to this template. And I always remind them, when you're preparing your strategic plan based on this template, I suggest that they take off the numbers. You delete the numbers. Just take off the numbers, because what a lot of people do is they just leave it the way it is to kind of cut corners. And then when it comes to the goals, and we'll see that in a second when we reach the goals, I question, is this really a number one opportunity, or you just copied it from me? So I'll go back to sharing the presentation. We'll also look at some examples of SWOT factors. That's another new share. These are some examples of what you can include for your SWOT factors. Of course, the positive factors are the strengths and the opportunities. The negative factors are your weaknesses and your threats. The internal factors are your strengths and your weaknesses, and the external are your opportunities and threats. So these are some of the examples that you can use. For example, if a financial strength, if that's a strength, you include that. If you have an excellent location, you include that as a strength as well. For weaknesses, you might have, one of the biggest problems that we have in the US Virgin Islands with businesses is poor location in terms of parking. You'll be surprised how much parking is an important factor, especially if your clientele, your target market are people who have challenges, like people who might be elderly or whatever. Because I remember when my mom was alive, she would bring something home and I would look at it and I'll say, where did you get this from? And she told me where she bought it from. And I say, well, you could have gone to someplace else and gotten it for much less. She said, yeah, but this place has better parking. And she was up there in age. And for her, being able to find a place to park and just get out, buy whatever she needs to buy and get back in her vehicle, that was more important to her than even the price. So this is a big challenge for us because we have a lot of parking challenges, especially on St. Thomas. We have a lot of parking challenges. Same thing with the opportunities and the threats. These are some examples you can use for opportunities, usually untapped market potential, expansion into a new market, or developing a new product or service. These are common opportunities for businesses. And of course, the common threats, as we mentioned before, the pandemics and the wars and the adverse weather and the competition. So we'll get back to sharing the presentation. Goals. Goals answer the question how to get there. The vision is where you want to go. The goals tell you how to get there. And you should prepare your goals first before you prepare your objectives. We'll discuss the objectives next. The goals describe what the company hopes to achieve by implementing strategies in pursuit of the objectives. You should separate your short-term from your long-term goals. Usually short-term is considered within a year, and long-term is anything over a year. And the goals should be developed based on your SWOT, what you included in the SWOT, and they have to also be related directly to one of your SWOT factors. We're going to see a very classic example of this in a few slides. And of course, the goals, what they do, they're supposed to maximize your strengths, eliminate your weaknesses, take advantage of opportunities, and lessen the negative impact of the threats or mitigate the threats. Now, very important, your goals have to be SMART, and the acronym SMART. The S stands for specific, the M stands for measurable, the A stands for achievable, the R stands for realistic, and the T stands for time-based. It has to be a time-based goal. We're going to take a look at an example in a few. So again, let's look at our sample strategic plan. Let's go to the goals section. So we're looking at our short-term goals. Is to improve customers' rating of business by 10%. Apparently, there's a way that customers provide feedback to the business, and we want this rating to increase by 10% in terms of positive rating. We want it to increase by 10%. So you see it's specific, and we have a date that we're going to do it by. We're going to do it by December, the end of this year, basically. And it's related to, excuse me, it's related to weakness 2. If you go back to weakness 2, weakness 2 is poor customer service. So you see this relates directly to weakness 2. So you have to state what SWOT factor is this goal related to. We also included a responsible party. We're going to speak more on that in a while. It's not mandatory, but it's something I just decided to include with this template. We'll speak about that in greater detail in a second. So same thing with our other short-term goal. We want to establish a transaction-based website by January 31st of next year. And it relates to opportunity number 1. So let's go back to opportunity number 1, opportunity to sell products online. So you see it's directly related to one of the SWOT factors. It has a date. Back to the presentation. Each goal needs to have an objective. Objectives are the steps you need to take towards reaching your goal. Ideally, for each goal, you should have at least 3 objectives. And just like the goals, the objectives also have to be SMART. They have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based as well. And this is an example of what we just looked at in the sample, the relationship between the SWOT, the goals, and the objectives. In this particular example, this company's number 1 weakness is poor sales. They have a poor sales record. So you could see that this weakness is directly linked to weakness number 1. This goal is directly related to this weakness. And the goal itself is to increase sales by 15% specific annually beginning January 1st. And the objectives: establish a transaction-based website by August 30th, 2022, this year. Increase the promotional budget annually 15% beginning September 30th this year. And expand inventory 10%. Beginning October 30th this year. Now notice, this is very important. Notice that the objectives chronologically appear before the date of the goal. The date of the goal is January 1st, 2023. The objectives, which are the steps, they have to come before the goal in terms of time. August 30th for the first objective, September 30th for the second one, and October 30th for the third one. And notice they're in chronological order as well. That's very important that you do that. The question asks, what's a transaction-based website? It's a website in which you could make transactions. For example, some websites are just informational. They will just have, okay, we're going to have a seminar on this date, but you can't necessarily sign up for the seminar or pay for the seminar through the website. So if it just has information, it's an informational website. If you can conduct transactions on the website, it's a transactional website. That's a very good question. Of course, a transactional website would involve more in terms of the programming, because you have to have something where you could you have to have programs in which you actually can conduct the transactions. So that makes it a little more complicated in terms of who's going to construct the website. Look at another example. For this particular business, the number one threat is a sharp decrease in tourist traffic because of COVID. I had COVID-10. I don't know where we get COVID-10 from. Am I predicting something? Hopefully not. COVID-19. Okay, so you see it's related directly to threat number one is that we increase our local customer base. Since we're getting less tourist traffic, let's try to increase our customer base. Let's increase it by 21%. And let's do it by July 31st of this year. And of course, the steps, the goals appear first, okay, in terms of chronological order. We expand our hours of operation to accommodate our local customers beginning April 11th of this year, which is next week. Increase our local promotional budget annually 15% by April 25th, and expand inventory that targets our local customers 25% annually beginning on May 9th. That's another example. You see the relationship between the SWOT, the goal, and the objectives. This is why it spurs action, because you have dates in which you could follow up on. And of course, you need to review your plan periodically and make changes when necessary. Keep your goals, especially your short-term goals and objectives, highly visible. What I do, and you don't necessarily have to do this, but it's an idea, is I have a to-do list. And depending on how busy things are with me, I either prepare a to-do list once a week, or if it's very, very busy, once every day a new to-do list. I have a to-do list which is general. These are things that I want to do, but these might be more futuristic. I include everything on the to-do list. And then I have a to-do list now. These are things that I have to do right now. So again, this would be more of the short-term goals. So what I would do is my short-term goals, I'll put them on my to-do list now. Keep them on my to-do list now and make it visible. I have it right in front of me. In fact, I have them right here in front of me. I could just look up and see the things I have to do right now today. Okay. So it's very important to keep your goals accessible, because you need to be reminded these are things that you need to do. And I always encourage students and clients to prepare a personal strategic plan. And whenever I do that, they kind of give me this look like, you don't think we have enough to do already? And you're giving us more work to do? But I'm telling you from experience. From experience, it's important to prepare a personal strategic plan. Yes, you should have one for your business, but it's good to have one for you personally. And I'm telling you from personal experience, it makes a difference. When you not only prepare it, but try your best to follow it, it makes a difference. In fact, a lot of these motivational speakers, these life coaches, that's what they're calling them now. They who said that I'm going to help you reach your potential. And all of these terms that they use, they basically use elements of the strategic plan. They tell you need to have a mission, you need to have a vision, you need to write down your goals. These are all elements of the strategic plan. So instead of sending them $39.95, if you want, you could send it to me. No, I'm just kidding. But you could actually prepare your own strategic plan and personal strategic plan, separate from the business. And I think this is something that would really make some changes in life, because it is something that has really helped me over the years. So I'm telling you from personal experience. Now, these are some common mistakes that I always see with strategic plans. We have what we call misplaced SWOT factors. Some people have a tendency to misplace weaknesses for threats. Remember, weaknesses is internal, so it's something that you can control. A threat is something external, so you can't control it. People have a tendency to mix them up or put them in the wrong category. The next common mistake is we have conflicting SWOT factors. The same factors listed as a strength and a weakness. I remember when I was working with SBDC, I was working with this group, and this was a religious group, right? And so for the strength, they had their faith. Their faith is a strength, okay? And then for weakness, they had lack of faith. So I told them that this is contradictory. You can't have, no, I told them what they could do. They could say, okay, in this particular area, we have strong faith when it applies to these factors or whatever, you could do that. And then when it comes to these factors, we lack faith. But you can't just generally say faith and then lack of faith. You can't just have them two as, and so we had an interesting discussion afterwards. I said, I'm just trying to help you guys. It has nothing to do with your religion. You know, they kind of thought that I was attacking their religion. I said, no, I'm not attacking your religion. Just your strategic plan, not your religion. So we had a very interesting and lively discussion after that. Poorly worded SWOT factors such as parking. If you list parking as a, if you just list parking as a weakness, I don't know, is parking a weakness? Now, if you say lack of sufficient parking, that's more descriptive, and that I could see that being a weakness, because parking could be a strength too. You have sufficient parking, adequate parking, that could be a strength, okay? SWOT factors are not prioritized. In some cases, they're not prioritized, but the method of prioritization is not explained. Some people might use colors as opposed to numbers. I prefer that you use numbers like we use you saw in the example, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I know that number 1, this is your number 1 strength, weakness, etc. Very important. No link between the goals and the SWOT factors. If you're gonna generate a goal or create a goal, it has to be linked to something. Why did you create this goal? It has to be based on your SWOT. This is another very important one. The goals do not address the top SWOT factors. I remember in one of the business plan courses that I teach, by the way, in that course, the first assignment that students have is the strategic plan. That's the first assignment. So this one student, right? Everything on her strategic plan was correct, except that she had a goal that related to, I think it was a strength or a threat number 5. But she didn't address, let's say, threat number 2. So I told her, everything on your plan is pristine and correct, but you need to address, why are you addressing threat number 5 and not addressing threat number 2? If you say that threat number 2, this is your second biggest threat, why are you not addressing it, but you're addressing your 5th biggest threat? Why are you doing that? And so she resubmitted the assignment about 3 times. And I keep giving her the same response. Then finally, I guess a light bulb went off in her head. And you know what she did? She changed the factor from threat number 5. She switched them. And she made threat number 5, threat number 2. And she made threat number 2, threat number 5. I didn't want to tell her that that's all she had to do, but I kind of let her figure it out for herself. Okay, so again, if you're listing your top SWOT factors, you have to address them. I'm going to go to the sample strategic plan because I want to show you guys something very important. Short-term, okay, let's look at our long-term goals, right? Increase staff by 30% by June 30th, 2023. It's a long-term goal, so it's over a year, right? And this relates to weakness number one. Now, if we go back to weakness number one is limited staff. So what we're saying is that our number one weakness is we have a limited staff. So we're addressing it. But the question I ask, and this is something, I didn't plan this. I wish I could say that I planned this, but it's something beautiful, but it's something I didn't plan. So the question I have to you guys is this. It's our number one weakness. So again, it has to be addressed. It's a number one weakness. So if it's our number one weakness, how come we're addressing it in the long term as opposed to the short term? That's a question to you guys. It's my number one weakness. So you think if it's your number one weakness, you need to address it now. How come we're not addressing it immediately? We're not addressing it until after a year. What do you think the answer is? It's our number one weakness. We're not addressing it until a year. Why is that? Why do you think that is? You could unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Why are we not addressing our number one weakness? We're addressing it, but we're not addressing it until the long term. Exactly. The person in the chat said it exactly. You have to make more money. Because when you increase staff, you don't just hire people. You have to identify a source of paying them every 2 weeks or every month or however you pay your staff. So you can't just say, I'm going to address this next month, increase the staff by 30%. You have to identify, money to pay them. You can't just pay them for 1 month. You have to continuously pay them. So, and I didn't, when I was creating this sample strategic plan, I didn't do this on purpose, but it just so happened. And it's a very good teaching moment because you do have to address your number one factors, but you don't have to address them in the short term. Some of them might need for you to be able to do something like make more money, or if your number one weakness is something else, but you have to wait for certain things to happen. You might have to wait for the pandemic to pass before you could do certain things. So just because something is number one, it doesn't mean it has to be addressed now, but it has to be addressed at some point. That's a point that I want to make, a very important point. Another common mistake is that some of the objectives occur chronologically after the goals. Remember, the goal is where you want to go. So the objectives are the steps to get there. So the steps have to occur before you get there. It's just like saying that you want to travel, let's say from Red Hook to Bordeaux. The goal is to reach Bordeaux. And let's say you want to reach Bordeaux by a certain time. I want to reach Bordeaux by 5 o'clock. One of the steps, you have to leave by this time. You have to take this route. So the steps, that objectives have to appear before, chronologically before the goal. And the example I like to use is when I first started to work many years ago, working for the Department of Labor. I lived very close to where the office was. And we used to have to be to work for 8 o'clock. And I used to leave my house 8:30. And for some reason, I was late every morning. I'm leaving my house 8:30 to reach for 8 o'clock. So for some reason, I was late every morning. I don't understand why. So that's a prime example of why the steps have to occur before the goal. The objectives have to appear before the goals. It's very important. So I think I'm done. And so if you can, if for those of you who have a strategic plan, you can submit it to me. I think we're supposed to have maybe 30 more minutes. I don't know if you have a strategic plan that you could email it to me right now and we could review it, or you could ask questions if you have questions. And if you need to contact me to have a strategic plan prepared, you can contact me through the SBDC. Okay, contact me through the SBDC. If you already have an SBDC consultant assigned to you, then of course, I would have to get permission from them to work with you on the strategic plan, out of courtesy. And the only thing we would work on is the strategic plan. Whatever you're working on with them, we're not going to interfere in that. Just going to work on your strategic plan. So if you already have an SBDC consultant assigned to you, let me know. I'll speak to them, ask them, can I work with John Doe on the strategic plan? Usually they would say yes. Work on the strategic plan, and then that's it. So I am finished. I'm open for questions, comments. See all those hands going up. Questions in the chat, live.
Okay, so in the interim, I guess I can make an announcement. The VI SBDC has so much more in store for the US VI small business community. We want you to visit our website at www.visbdc.org. Download the VI SBDC app on your mobile device from the appropriate app store. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google My Business, and subscribe to the VI SBDC YouTube channel for new uploads of our on-demand webinars.
Okay.
I don't see any questions at this time.
Somebody put a question in the chat. How long should the plan be? Usually the strategic plan is no longer than 2 to 3 pages. I have seen strategic plans that are long. But usually 2 to 3 pages, that's a typical strategic plan. And I guess one of the reasons why some of them are long is they have a lot of boilerplate and introductory overviews and all of that stuff. But the plan itself, the meat of the plan, usually 2 to 3 pages, and that's it. That's a very good question. Normally, it's about 2 to 3 pages. Another question in the chat. Should it be part of the business plan or separate plan? It depends on the template. I do like to include it in the business plan. In the template that I use, I do include a strategic plan in the business plan, but some templates do not have, some templates would only ask for the SWOT, the strengths and the weaknesses, the opportunities and threats. Some of them also do incorporate the entire plan. I like to try to put the entire plan, just stick it in the business plan, but it depends on the template. Additional questions? Another question, how long does it take to do? Now that's a very good question. They said that the mission statement alone could take 2 to 3 weeks. A lot of that depends on your organization and who's involved in the preparing of the plan. And I'm glad you asked that question because it kind of brings me back to something that I missed in the presentation. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to go back to something that I kind of missed in the presentation. It really depends on how many people you involve. I would encourage you, it depends on the size of your organization. Some organizations are very layered. You know, you have you, the owner, and then you might have different divisions under you. And if you have a lot of divisions, sometimes it might not be practical to involve every single person in the strategic plan directly. What you can do is you could say, okay, for the managers, each manager, you are going to approach your staff individually and ask them what should be included, let's say in the mission statement, what should be included in terms of our goals. But I'm going to only prepare the plan with the managers because it might be practical for your organization, but you still would get input from everybody, but they would not necessarily attend the planning session when you're actually crafting the plan. Okay, so it depends. It really depends on the size of the organization. If you're a one-person organization, you're doing everything, it's based on how fast you can prepare the plan. But it's always good to involve as many people as possible in the organization, because again, there's this concept of buying in. If you prepare the plan by yourself and you don't involve your staff and you just presented them and this is our strategic plan, and they're gonna look at you, what do you mean our? They're saying our, this is yours. We didn't have any input in this. But if they have an input in it, then it's gonna be considered theirs. Another question, should you include people outside of your organization and put together your strategic plan? That's a very good, it depends, because keep in mind that you're going to be included some things that can be shared with competition, which you may not want to be shared with competition. You may include your stakeholders, people who the people that we purchase our products from. You might include certain portions of the plan in it. You may not include everything in the plan. You may not want your competition to see your strategic plan. One of your suppliers or some people outside of your organization might have connection with your competition. And they say, hey, you know what they have in their strategic plan? So again, you may not want to share it with people outside of your organization. What you can do is share portions of it as it relates to them. For example, you have a supplier that you normally purchase your products from. So when it comes to how it involves them, what do you think our goal should be in terms of buying products from you? We normally buy $10,000 worth of products from you per month or per year or whatever. Do you think a realistic goal is to be 20,000? Of course, they're gonna say, yeah, buy more products from us. Or you could ask them about the diversity of their products, but you're gonna only involve them with part of the strategic plan that involves them. So that's a very good question. Should you include them? If it's people that you can trust and you know that's not going to really share your confidential information, yes. If not, you just share portions of it with them that involves them. Very good question. And while you're thinking on some other questions, let me just go back and share. This is something I mentioned, but I did not highlight it. If you look at the goals, right? Let's look at our first goal. We want to improve our customers' rating of business by 10%. And we have who's responsible. The person responsible is the operations manager. Again, we spoke about accountability. This way, hopefully the operations manager will be part of the crafting of this plan. So when you say that we want to get this done by December 30th of this year, the operations manager could say, wait. That's too short of a time. We can't do it by that time because of. So not only that, but if they agree and they say, okay, we can get it done by December 30th this year, then you can hold that person responsible. Because they are the responsible party. So you could roll up on them. For example, the first objective is going to supposedly do by September 30th. You could say maybe August 30th or so, maybe give them a month. You could roll up on the operations manager and say, yo, how are you working with the revised customer feedback system? How's that going so far? You see, it's accountability and it's action. So you could keep track, you have benchmarks, you could keep track of. Now, as I said before, it's not mandatory that you identify who's responsible, but if you have a layered organization with a lot of layers, division of this, director of this, I think it's important that you do that you do identify who's responsible, and also, keep the feet to the fire, so to speak, and make sure this person is involved in the planning or the crafting of the plan. So you don't want to spring it on them. Because I know a lot of us, especially those of us that are working, we know that a lot of times people spring things on you, and we're talking about supervisors, managers, they spring new things on you and they kind of forget what you're working on at the time. I know I've experienced this many times. A month ago, they gave you this large project to do, and you're working on this large project. And then this week, because they get pressure from the upper management and they come to you and they say, okay, we have this new project to work on. and it has to be done by December 30th. So you have to ask them, are we going to drop what we're working on now, or do you want to, how are we going to do this? So this is why it's important to identify who's responsible. And let's say the operations manager decides that, he or she went to the staff, and the staff say, well, there's no way we could do this by September, to the first objective, there's no way we could do this by September 30th because we're working on this other project. Then they could come back to you and say, sorry, but can we push back the date of this instead of December 30th? Because by September, we're not going to get this first objective completed. So, you see? So you can see the conversation it involves, and you can see the accountability. It fosters accountability and it fosters action. So I just wanted to make sure that I did include that. Oops. Any additional questions?
And while we have a gap, I'll mention the upcoming webinars that we have. So on the 6th at 6 p.m., we have SCORE with Discover Effective Selling. On the 11th at 11:30 a.m., we have Employer Guidance in Our COVID-19 World. On the 12th at 6 p.m., we have SCORE again with Use a 6-month budget to guide your business recovery. On the 12th at 11 a.m., we have SBA Webinar Tuesday, the 5 C's of SBA loan eligibility. And the 19th at 11 a.m., we have Oriental Bank, Business Concepts, Strategies, and Best Practices. On the 21st at 11 a.m., we have our business development series being continued with Starting Your Business in the USVI. And on the 26th at 11 a.m., we have the SBA Webinar Tuesday back again with 504 and 7A SBA guaranteed loans. So those are our upcoming webinars. We want to highlight that April is Financial Literacy Month. So we want our business owners to be on top of things and to be prepared to be successful. Any more questions on your end, Mr. Edwards?
I think I'm basically through. I just want to encourage people to prepare the plan. I know for some people, it might look challenging to prepare. And excuse me, with a lot of students, it is challenging. When they start to prepare it, they realize how difficult it is, especially with the prioritizing and the linking and all of this stuff. But remember that we are here to help you. So even if you don't have anything done, but you see the importance of preparing a strategic plan, please contact me through the SBDC and we'll work on it for you. We'll help, well, we wouldn't work on it for you. We'll help you to prepare it.
Okay, so thank you so much for always being readily available to present. On behalf of the VISBDC, Mr. Edwards, I guess we can go to that last slide. And thank everyone for their time on behalf of the entire VISBDC network. Wishing you a productive rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Adios.